Angus Young turned 70 on March 31st, 2025, and the rock world couldn't stop buzzing. The AC/DC legend had been quiet lately, focusing on his music and keeping out of the spotlight. But just days before his birthday, he sat down for a rare interview that sent shockwaves through fans everywhere. The big news? He dropped a bombshell about Axl Rose, the Guns N' Roses frontman, who stepped in to help AC/DC back in 2016. What Angus said wasn't just a passing comment. It was a revelation that made everyone rethink what happened during that wild chapter of rock history. Back in 2016, AC/DC was in a tough spot. Their singer, Brian Johnson, had to step away from the Rock or Bust tour because of serious hearing problems. The band could have called it quits right there. Years of loud shows and non-stop touring had taken their toll, and losing Brian felt like a breaking point. Angus, though, wasn't ready to let AC/DC fade away. He's always been the heart of the band, the guy in the schoolboy outfit who keeps the riffs coming no matter what. So when Brian had to leave, Angus started looking for someone to fill in, just enough to finish the tour and keep the music alive. That's when Axl Rose came into the picture. Axl, the wild and unpredictable voice of Guns N' Roses, wasn't the obvious choice. AC/DC's gritty, no-nonsense sound didn't seem to match Axl's high-pitched wails and dramatic stage moves. But Axl was a huge AC/DC fan, and he reached out to Angus through a mutual contact. He offered to help, saying he'd love to sing those classic songs with the band. Angus didn't jump at it right away. He knew Axl had a reputation: late starts, big outbursts, and a voice that was totally different from Brian's growl. Still, something about Axl's passion caught Angus's attention, and he decided to give it a shot. The first time Axl stepped on stage with AC/DC was in Lisbon, Portugal, on May 7th, 2016. Fans didn't know what to expect. Some were excited, others were skeptical. Axl showed up with a broken foot, sitting in a chair borrowed from Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters. It wasn't the usual high-energy AC/DC show, but Axl gave it everything he had. He belted out songs like Back in Black and Highway to Hell, with a fire that surprised everyone. Angus, running around in his schoolboy uniform, traded riffs with Axl's vocals, and somehow it worked. The crowd went wild, and the tour kept rolling. For the next few months, Axl toured with AC/DC across Europe and the US. He finished the Rock or Bust dates, covering 23 shows in all. It wasn't perfect. Axl's style clashed with some of the songs, and his seated performance couldn't match the band's usual chaos. But it kept AC/DC alive when they needed it most. Brian Johnson even gave his blessing, saying he was grateful Axl stepped in to help his old mates. By the end of 2016, the tour wrapped up, and Axl went back to Guns N' Roses. Brian eventually returned to AC/DC in 2020 for the Power Up album, and it seemed like the Axl chapter was just a weird one-off moment in the band's long story. That's what everyone thought until Angus's bombshell interview in March 2025. Sitting down with a music journalist, Angus looked back on those days with Axl, and what he said turned everything upside down. He didn't just talk about Axl filling in, he revealed that there was almost a much bigger collaboration between them. Angus said, Axl didn't just save the tour, he wanted to do more. He had ideas for new songs, and we nearly made an album together. That one line hit like a thunderbolt. An AC/DC album with Axl Rose? It was the kind of news that made fans stop in their tracks. Angus went on to explain how it all started. After a few shows, Axl pulled him aside backstage. They were in some sweaty dressing room, still buzzing from the night's performance. Axl, with his foot still in a cast, looked at Angus and said, "This doesn't have to end here. I've got riffs and lyrics I think could work for AC/DC. Let's write something new." Angus was caught off guard. He'd only planned to get through the tour, not start a whole new project. But Axl's energy was infectious. Angus admitted he'd always admired Axl's drive, even if their styles were miles apart. So they started tossing ideas around. Nothing serious at first, just two rockers jamming in the moment. Over the next few weeks, those talks got deeper. Axl would show up with notebooks full of lyrics, humming melodies, while Angus plugged in his Gibson SG and played along. They worked on a handful of rough tracks, blending AC/DC's raw power with Axl's edgy flair. Angus said one song had a riff he still can't get out of his head, a fast, dirty groove with Axl screaming over it. Another was slower, almost bluesy, something AC/DC hadn't tried in years. It wasn't the classic AC/DC sound, but it wasn't pure Guns N' Roses either. It was something new, something that could have shaken up both their legacies. So why didn't it happen? Angus leaned back in his chair during the interview, a small smile on his face. Life got in the way, he said. The Rock or Bust tour ended, and Axl had to get back to Guns N' Roses for their own massive reunion tour. Angus, meanwhile, was dealing with personal stuff. His brother Malcolm Young's health was getting worse, and the band was still reeling from losing their rhythm guitarist. Malcolm passed away in 2017, and that hit Angus hard. The idea of jumping into a new album, especially one that wasn't pure AC/DC, felt wrong at the time. The tapes, or whatever rough recordings they made, got shelved, and the whole thing faded into the background. But Angus's Bombshell wasn't just about the past. He hinted that those lost tracks might not be gone forever. "I've still got some of those ideas somewhere," he said, tapping his head. "Maybe one day we'll dust them off." That little tease set the internet on fire. Fans started dreaming of what could have been. An AC/DC and Axl Rose hybrid album, blending two of rock's biggest names. Some loved the idea, imagining Axl's wild vocals over Angus's iconic riffs. Others weren't so sure, saying it'd be too far from what AC/DC stands for. Either way, the thought of it was enough to get everyone talking. Looking back, Angus had nothing but praise for Axl. He called him a lifesaver for stepping in when the band needed him. He didn't have to do it, Angus said. He could have stayed with his own thing, but he put his heart into AC/DC. I'll never forget that. It was a rare moment of warmth from Angus, who usually lets his guitar do the talking. He even laughed about Axl's broken foot, saying, "The guy was hobbling around, but he still sang like a madman. You've got to respect that." Axl hasn't said much about Angus's revelation yet. He's been busy with Guns N' Roses, playing sold-out shows and keeping his own legend alive. But back in 2016, he'd hinted at something more with AC/DC. During a fan Q&A in London, he'd said, "Angus and I are talking about working together. We'll see." At the time, people thought he meant a few guest spots or maybe a one-off song. Now, thanks to Angus, we know it was bigger than that. Axl's silence since the interview only adds to the mystery. Does he still have those lyrics tucked away somewhere too? For AC/DC fans, this bombshell is a lot to process. The band's been through so much: lineup changes, tragedies, and health scares. Angus turning 70 feels like a milestone, a chance to look back at it all. And at 70, he's still full of surprises. Dropping this story about Axl shows he's not done shaking things up. It's not just nostalgia. It's a reminder that even legends like Angus can still dream big, even if those dreams don't always come true. The rock world's still reeling from this one. Forums are lighting up with debates, and YouTube's already got reaction videos popping off. Some fans are begging Angus to dig up those old recordings and finish what he started with Axl. Others just want AC/DC to keep doing what they do best, cranking out pure, unfiltered rock. Whatever happens, Angus's words have given us a peek into a road not taken. A what-if that's got everyone hooked. At 70, he's proving he's still got stories to tell, and maybe, just maybe, some music left to make. Thanks for watching this video. Please enjoy other videos we have on the page, and continue to like and subscribe to the Blazing Icons channel.